just a minute.
So Kiana, when I hop off, I'm just going to kind of go quietly into the sunset. I'm just going to hop off. I'm not going to
We're live,
disrupt the
guys.
conversation.
No problem, no problem. And it looks like we are live. So we'll definitely ask our guests, if you do have Facebook, share it live on your page. Your guests can watch as well. But we want to welcome everybody who's joining us here on our Zoom, and also everyone out there in our Facebook world for our Business and Entrepreneur Committee meeting today. We have a very exciting panel that's joining us. But before we get started with all of that, we're going to turn it over to Tony, who's going to kind of give us our house rules.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Tony Valle. I am Vice President of Business Retention and Entrepreneurial here at the Chamber. This morning, we ask that you are aware of your surroundings. If you have to jump off, if something happens, jump off, and of course, keep your safety in mind. We also, anything that we do at the Chamber, we do have a code of conduct. Anything that would go against that, we would hop off, reconvene, talk about what's going on, and then go forth in a manner that follows our code of conduct. And that's all I have. Welcome this morning.
And while you're there, Tony, can you please introduce yourself and kind of tell what you do with the Chamber?
Sure. So I've been with the Chamber here for 4 months, going on 5 months, I guess now. And I help with our business retention and expansion program. The Chamber works closely with the Pearland Economic Development Corporation, and we support our top industries and primary employers through that. And then I also work closely with our workforce development, connecting employees and our citizens back to employers. And then I work with Kiana on our efforts to bring entrepreneurism to Pearland and support our lovely small business owners and entrepreneurs we have. And then we both have a passion to grow our little entrepreneurs. So we are excited about starting programs in as young as first grade, second grade, to get people excited about business, and they're just kind of realizing their own potential and what they could do in life. So that's just a passion of ours, and that's what we're working towards.
Awesome. Thank you. Also want to introduce my co-chair for the committee, Ms. Brianne Salcedo.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Kiana. Thank you, Tony. Happy Friday. Excited that the weekend's about to be here with school starting and transition occurring. I'm already ready for the weekend. So my name is Brianne Salcedo. I am the proud owner of Action Coach Pearland and Action Coach Friendswood. We are a business coaching firm that really thinks about people as the best asset in business. And how do we develop humans? How do we create a better community, create business as a tool versus a job, and be able to give back to all the things that we desire in life. And so we are basically dream creator and freedom makers. And it is a pure pleasure to be hosting this with Kiana today.
Awesome. Thank you. And then I want to introduce our chair of our board for the Pearland Chamber of Commerce, Ms. Ann Struhall.
Good morning, everyone. As Kiana said, I'm Ann Struhall and chair of the board this year. I'm also a certified, in my paying job, I'm a certified HR consultant. And so unlike Brianna, I'm more from a compliance perspective, making sure that once those employees are in a good space from the work that Brianna does, and, I work with them from the perspective of taking care of your employees and still staying compliant at the same time. Awesome. Welcome, everyone. Yeah.
And we want to welcome Jennifer, if you want to tell us what you do.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jennifer Almaguer. I'm the marketing director at Community First Emergency Room.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I don't know if I introduced myself or not, but I'm Kiana James. I'm the founder and owner of Friendly Faces Senior Care, and we provide caregiving services for our dear, lovely seniors wherever they live, whether that's in a home or assisted living facility. So you guys, and we cover the whole entire Houston area. but I also serve on the executive board for the Pearland Chamber of Commerce, and my responsibility is to head up this business and entrepreneur committee. So thank you guys for joining us. And we know that we have a lot of people viewing online as we are streaming live on Facebook. So definitely want to welcome you guys that are coming to us from Facebook. As we get into our discussion, if you have questions or comments, please put them in the chat box, or if you're online, please just comment on there. And I think Tony will be kind of checking it, and I'll be kind of checking it myself. So today is a subject I'm very, very excited about, because that's really my core, my background, sales and marketing. And we're going to talk about the benefits of sales and marketing. Is one more important than the other? A lot of times we see that they really kind of go hand in hand, or people talk about sales and they're talking about marketing, or people talk about marketing and they're talking about sales. So we're really going to get into a good discussion about what's the difference, and do we need both of them? And this is really targeted for our businesses. It's a big passion of mine when it comes to sales and marketing. And to me, it's just really fun. For some people, it's a big chore, or it's something they really would rather not have to do. So we really want to, as the Pearland Chamber of Commerce, just really set up our business owners so they can be the most successful. We know that we are not finished. We are still very much so in a pandemic. So it's been really hard on a lot of business owners. A lot of people have went out of business, but also throughout this tragedy of this pandemic, there's been a lot of new ideas and a lot of new business owners. So however we can help our business owners, we definitely want to do that. So what we're going to do now, we have 3 panelists that's going to talk about this very important subject. But before we get into our questioning, we want to see who they are. So we're going to let them introduce themselves, tell us who you are, what's the company you represent, and kind of why you're passionate about this subject. So I'm going to start with Laura.
Okay. Hi, I'm Laura Camrath, founder and CEO of Zebra Marketing Solutions. We see businesses who offer state-of-the-art products and services, but they need help with their strategy in today's cutting-edge marketing world. We help them build a modern marketing infrastructure so that they can grow their revenues, grow their business, and know that they're spending their money effectively for the highest ROI. And our passion is in helping businesses succeed. We help companies achieve new levels of success through marketing strategy, branding and messaging, web design, communications, copywriting and content generation, advertising, search engine optimization, social media, and more. I'm actually passionate about this because actually the sort of inspiration for me to start my business was when I did a big marketing push for a company I was employed by back in probably the 2008, 2009 timeframe. And we did a complete rebrand of the company, new logo, new tagline, new website, new brochures, new trade show presence, new sponsorship strategy. And it was just incredible to me to watch the incredible impact that it had on the business, and taking that business from a word of mouth only business where, you know, people only found out about it by referral, to actually being a known name in the industry that, you know, it was in. And so that was really exciting to me, just being able to help that business grow and see the incredible impact that it had. And it was also really fun to me, like all the, you know, it's a combination, especially now that we have digital marketing. It's such a combination of sort of tech and creativity. It's like art, but it's also technology. And I enjoy that. I'm a Pisces, you know, like the star sign Pisces is like the 2 fish swimming. So I've always been like a technical minded person, but also a creative minded person. And so I really enjoy the digital marketing because it's sort of a combination of creativity and tech. Yeah, and that's me and Zebra Marketing Solutions.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And good to see you again.
Yes.
I've seen you online, but with this COVID year, you just don't get to see people like you used
Yeah.
to. All righty, Michael, I just saw you last week?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Good to see you again. Would you please tell the
Same.
group who you are?
Sure. Hi, my name's Michael Giudicissi with Power Shot Training. And I've spent the last 15 years of my career working with field salespeople, sales teams, and sales leadership really all around the world. Work mostly in the healthcare space. That's how I came to know Kiana, but also in financial services. And so while our experts on the panel are really well versed at the broad scope of marketing, my little piece of that has been the direct sales approach, which obviously has been really impacted by COVID and continues to be. I've been passionate about this because I've been selling since I was, gosh, I don't know, maybe 20 years old, which is so long ago, it's hard to remember. But I've always enjoyed the opportunity to connect people with products, services, ideas. And I've always enjoyed kind of the challenge of, breaking through what people might perceive about a product or a service and being able to show them and bring them along in a partnership that it would benefit them. So it's been a great challenge. I love seeing young people develop, new salespeople, young or old, but new salespeople grow and develop and succeed. And that's a pretty big part of my business nowadays. So thank you for having me, Kiana.
Thank you so much.
And Kiana, may I ask, Michael,
yes,
can you just state your business name one more time? I'm sorry.
Sure, it's Power Shot Training, SHOT.
Thank you.
And then also, if you put your contact information in the chat box when you have the opportunity, and then Tony will be able to put that on our Facebook feed because we have a lot of people tuning in and commenting already.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. And then last but certainly not least, Mr. Sammy.
Known as the troublemaker.
Very much so.
So Sammy here with CGS Digital Marketing. I come from a unique background. My background is actually in digital forensics and cybersecurity, which we still have that company that we deal with, especially with Department of Defense and State Department when it comes to our clientele. But on the digital marketing side, we mainly take care of compliance heavy. Again, federal, state departments, and when I say compliance heavy, healthcare, law firms as our clientele. But I personally love the digital space because of the challenges it brings. There's a new challenge at every stage. There's a new challenge with every platform. And I love causing trouble.
Definitely a troublemaker. Great person to know. Great person to know. All right, great. So what we'll do, if you're not speaking and not on the panel, I'll ask for you to mute yourself if you're here on Zoom. So we'll cut out any background noises, but we're going to get right into our discussion. So our first question is dealing directly with marketing and sales. What would you say, in your opinion, is the relationship between marketing and sales? And I'm going to start with Michael.
Sales is a part of an entire marketing effort. It's a vital part. It's maybe you might even consider it the hub of the wheel, but it's not the exhaustive process that marketing is. So the two things need and should be intertwined. I'm sure we'll talk more about that later. But having a sales effort without a supporting marketing effort is probably doomed to fail in the long term. Having a marketing effort can succeed without direct sales, depending upon the industry, but always is reinforced by if you have a powerful sales team, well-trained, and that can really exploit the marketing message that your department is creating. It's a really powerful 1-2 punch.
Great. And Sammy, we'll go to you. Your opinion?
Yeah, my short answer to that would be, Michael, I think nailed it on the head. You can't have offense without the defense. You can't have defense without the offense. It's come to a point where they have become really, really important aspect of a small business. A business owner that knows how to market themselves has to also be able to sell. And when they know how to sell, they also have to be able to market themselves and build that brand around it. And for large corporations and large companies, the biggest problem that I see that we run into is a CMO actually doesn't know how to balance the sales team with the marketing. The goals are different, and how not to treat them exactly the same, and how to cohesively bring those two groups together for the common goal of sales and selling and bottom line of the business. So yes, you can't in today's world have one without the other.
Yeah, I think that's a very important part, because when you really get into the core of what makes a good salesperson, what makes a good marketing person, there's a lot of different characteristics of each of those individuals. And some people can do both, but it's really very distinct characteristics. So very good point. And Laura?
Yeah, I was actually having this conversation yesterday with a prospective client. And in marketing, we talk about push versus pull methods. And so if you think about the difference of marketing and sales, if you have a sales effort that does not have a marketing effort around it, you're in a push sales situation, which is basically you're going after and fishing. You're going out looking for leads. You're trying to convince people to do business with you. And you're basically pushing them into the sale as an individual or as a salesperson. Versus marketing, we can set up what we call a pull methodology or pull marketing system, which is basically where you provide people all of the information that they need and the automation that they need and the setup that they need so that they can basically self-qualify into the sale. And I know, all kinds of people and businesses, they want to make their own decisions these days. Even, car sales, by the time somebody gets to the dealership, a lot of people have now already made up their mind about what they want to buy, or even already have the particular car in mind that they're planning on buying. And they have made that decision because all the information was available for them to be able to self-qualify themselves into the sale. And so at that point, when that person comes in and says, hey, I want to buy a Toyota RAV4, the salesperson can take over and say, okay, great. Here is the car you're looking for. And, let's go through the process that you're going to need to go through to make the purchase. So I think the difference between sales and marketing, especially these days, is that, sales is important, but it's not the first thing that you should be always doing. Of course, that's not always the case. Sometimes like, okay, I just need to make my budget by the end of the month. Maybe you need to hop on the phone and make a bunch of sales calls to get that, final sale or whatever you need to do. But, if you're looking at setting up your process, I think that having a solid marketing process that can set up a pull system where you're giving people the information that they need to make a decision about whether it's a good idea to do business with you or not. That's really important before you get to the sales process.
Good.
Kiana, can I say something to that? It's interesting because usually a marketing person definitely says, come on, marketing first, let's get this going. And Michael's probably biting his tongue like, no, you got to make sure you have a strong sales team because you could waste all this time and energy and dollars in marketing if your conversion ratio is not high or the team's not ready. Kind of a way that I've talked about it as well is, what if you had a basketball? It's really hard, especially for a normal person, maybe not a basketball player, but a normal person to hold a basketball. So I picture like if marketing was your left hand and sales was your right, and you said, hold this basketball, it would be really hard to do with one hand. So I say like, if both hands were holding this basketball, how strong and stable would that be? And what does that ball represent? And I would say that ball in the middle of marketing and sales that you're holding together is communication and process. So being able to understand that a marketing brain sometimes works differently than a sales brain, and the communication is different and the process is different. But if you can get these two energies to flow through one tying process and one form of communication, both sides end up producing and performing and converting very well. Just kind of my thought about a little.
Yeah,
I love that analogy about basketball. I'm writing down nuggets as you guys are speaking.
I think it also depends on what you're selling, and depending on what you're selling, what industry you're in, whether you're business to business or business to consumer, that can be a very different situation in terms of how much marketing versus sales that is, is appropriate.
Yeah.
Like,
And we're going to kind of get into the marketing plans, et cetera, but just want to touch on digital marketing. So see here, many business owners are understanding the need for digital marketing and branding online presence. So that's like big hot topic that's going on now. So what have been your most successful strategies beyond a digital marketing focus? And whoever wants to go first is fine. Michael, you moved your hand.
Oh, yeah, I was deferring to the marketing experts. But you said something that digital marketing and building your brand presence online is vitally important, and I would echo that it is. Even though where I come from is the sales side of the basketball equation. If people don't know who you are, what you represent, what your company ideals are, your corporate goodwill before you walk in, you have such a steeper hill to climb, because you have to do all of that in very often a tiny bit of time or attention span of the people. And so that ability, so I don't bite my tongue when it comes to talking about marketing. I used to years ago, before I really understood the value of it, but that the marketing effort, the branding, the identity should do all of the work before the salesperson connects with the customer. Because if it does, that's a beautiful harmony, and that's when the basketball gets held up. When we try to do it all first, or we try to have the salesperson do it, we're asking them to do a job they're not really equipped for. So there's my 2 cents on that.
They put them in a really sweaty position that's not necessarily fair to the sales team, for sure.
Yeah, I think that's completely right. I think marketing opens doors and builds credibility. So, if you're trying to make sales calls to a prospective customer and they've never heard of you before, it's going to be a lot harder for you even to possibly get through to the person you're trying to reach. If they know who you are and they actually see a value in what you offer, it's going to be easier for you. It's going to open doors, maybe help you get past that gatekeeper if they think that they could actually benefit from what you offer. But if they don't know what you offer and they don't even know who you are, it's going to be a lot more difficult, I think.
Yeah, and I can talk to that firsthand. Just being in the home care agency, it's extremely competitive. We go to events and it's like 7 or 8 of us. We're friends, but when you start off as an independent agency, like I was, like nobody knew who I was, and I'm competing against big national franchise, home care agencies. So I really had to work hard on my marketing efforts in addition to my sales, because I didn't have a brand and I'm just this young girl running around saying, hey, I can take care of your seniors. So that marketing piece for me was just so fundamental, and even being able to support those sales efforts.
And the months that it takes to put into that sometimes. So I'm sure that Laura and Sammy, you've had to deal with the people that want immediate results. Can I get results tomorrow? I'm sure that happens to y'all, right?
I still get those calls, but I'll tell you, your image opens the doors that wouldn't have opened otherwise, or like some of the other folks were saying, that you would have had to work a lot harder to get in. We see cases all the time in the industry. Just talking about nonprofits, for example, Kiana knows this. A lot of times the donors will go to the website, look at their online presence. If they don't find anything, you actually just get rejected outright. They're not interested in really listening to you unless they can really find something on you and find some credibility, people writing things about you that shows that you're trustworthy. So even from donor perspective, we constantly run into this issue where nonprofits are struggling for funds now, whereas before it was more of a process: show up to the office, explain what you're going to do, get those funding. Now they want to know that if they're affiliating with a brand, does that brand have any credibility online?
Right. I know for myself, I will go online first and look someone up. And it's so interesting how many people are not represented online versus how many people are looking for you online. Just something as simple as a website, or a nice website. So it's very, very, very important. So we're talking about sales plan, marketing plan, where should one begin? Because, well, why is it important for them to even have it? Because many times people don't even know they need to put together a sales and marketing plan. So why should they have it? And what should they do to begin to get a good plan in place? Laura?
Yeah, I mean, I think you might start with your budget. You know, how much do you want to spend on a marketing plan? Do you have budget? And not just thinking of it in terms of an expense, but in terms of an investment in your business. And so how much are you able to, or do you want to invest in growing your business? And then think about what industry are you in, and where do the people you serve hang out? So, you know, who is it you're serving, and where do those people hang out? What social media channels are they on? What publications are they reading? What thought leaders are they following? You know, thinking about really getting inside the head of the person that you serve. Before you think about a marketing plan, you need to understand where you can reach the people that you serve. And then once you kind of understand the people that you serve, then think about the marketing plan in terms of, well, how do I use marketing then to get in front of these people? So, when you kind of keep it what we call customer centric, then you're thinking about, what do the people I serve need, and how can I support them through my marketing effort? And supporting them looks like maybe giving them some of your best stuff. So, Kiana, if you are in, home health, that, maybe what your customers need is advice on how to better care for their elderly parents, and giving them your best advice. They're going to start saying, these people really have some good stuff to say about what I should do in these difficult situations. Maybe they could help me out. So I think the marketing plan, also, like, not just looking at your who do you serve, but also thinking about the competition. What are they doing? And what can you do differently from the people you're competing with? Or what are they not doing that you could do that would benefit the people you serve?
So. Right. And one point I was going to add to what you were talking about, getting your budget together. The U.S. Small Business Administration actually recommends spending about 7 to 8% of your gross revenue for your marketing and advertising efforts if you're doing less than $5 million a year in sales. And your net profit margin after all expenses is in the 10 to 12% range. So it definitely needs to be something, a line item on your budget. Very important.
If I could add to that too, Laura, that was such a great point, because a lot of people try to start with tactics or strategy first before even considering budget or target. And so I have seen quite a few business owners that are in their first 5 years of business that have a fear of the budget. And so I would say conquer the fear and speak to someone that's on a panel today, because you can't get over the fear if you don't know the facts. So educating yourself and saying, well, if I don't have the budget right now, maybe that's a little fearful to you, but guess what you can do? You can plan an optimal plan for that budget. And where do you want to grow to? We reverse engineer that, and you get going, versus kind of sitting in fear of money sometimes, which happens with a lot of businesses with marketing budgets.
Yeah, and maybe that's a good time to implement a sales strategy. If you're thinking, okay, I just need X amount more budget to be able to implement a marketing strategy. Well, maybe you hop on the phone and set yourself a goal to make X number of sales calls every day over the next month until you close X amount of business that will support your marketing effort.
And then we call it buying customers. You exchange dollars, you get customers back. Like, you exchange dollars, that investment cycle begins. So it's beautiful. Awesome.
And when I started the agency a decade ago, I would have not had a marketing agency if I was not selling. At that stage, we were very new online, didn't have a lot of reviews. We were building case studies. So I really had to get out there, shake hands, meet people. I had to use old-fashioned, sales techniques to actually get clients in to have that budget to be able to market online or create content online. But like Laura was saying, depending on your industry, if you're in selling insurance, you might focus on sales first and get some clients in, get that money in before you focus on marketing. When a client comes to us and they're on their last $500, last $1,000, I'm not going to recommend that they go start dropping that money on Facebook ads. They need to build that base up a little bit so they can back it up. I think it all goes back to the budget question. A lot of them are afraid to ask it, and a lot of them are afraid to talk about it. One of the big issues we constantly see is where they'll come in, say, well, you're too expensive, and they'll go overseas. Then they spend that money overseas, then they come right back at our doors wanting help to make the loss or deficit up. Whereas then you could have hired a professional who could have helped you versus an amateur who actually costed you.
Can I give an amen to that? I have to help my clients clean that up every single day, probably, of my coaching career, is that choosing the wrong people to be cheap or someone that's not an expert, and then you have to clean that up. And then not only do you have to clean up the dollars, you have to clean up the online presence or bad reputation that was created. And that is that's a feat. So
I always say you pay now, you pay later.
I will comment on that. I have used people overseas for my own marketing things or virtual assistants or whatever it is. I've used people in India and like Europe, in Philippines, all kinds of places. And I think that just because you're using someone in the US doesn't automatically mean they know what they're doing. And so I think that it's really a question, and it also doesn't mean that somebody, just because they're overseas, doesn't know what they're doing. So I think it's really a question of understanding, who it is you're working with, and you, like, as the business owner, understanding what it is you need or want to do before you go out and find someone. Or if you really don't know what it is you need to do, finding someone that you trust who can help you, because it's like you guys were saying, it is easy to just spend money and hope the person you're working with knows what they're doing. But if you don't know, as the business owner, enough about what it is you need to do, I think the responsibility lies with you to understand enough about what you need to do before you go and spend the money or do it. So that doesn't mean you need to understand everything, but just, educate yourself enough to understand, what it is you're doing. Maybe get a couple of bids and see what, when you ask somebody, hey, this is my goal, see what they come back to you with and compare what you've got versus just like hoping the person you're talking to knows what they're doing. Because, it's not that like people are bad or they're trying to take advantage of you, but there's varying levels of expertise out there, and whether you're overseas or stateside, it's still going to be finding the right person and being sure that the instructions to them are clear and that you understand what you're getting.
Yes, and utilize your community. We're part of the chamber. We're here with the chamber. We're all business owners who have had unfortunate failures and successes. And so community, ask around and come to events and be part of business communities where people have had trial and errors and can verbally, tell you what's been successful.
And Michael, did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, you talk about the sales plan, and to me, the very first thing when you're devising that is who's going to do the sales. When we talk about small business and entrepreneurs, I think the common thought, and for most of the people I've talked to over the years, is they say, well, I'm the owner, I should do it. But what I find is often that's not true, because if you don't really have a passion to go out and sell, whether it be over the phone, whether it be in person, whether it be virtually in the times of COVID, it's very, very challenging to succeed. And sales is a job where you invite rejection in on a relatively constant basis. And so I have always coached entrepreneurs. If you feel the drive to do this and you want to, and you have the stick to itiveness to go through all of the challenge and hard times, then by all means you can be good at it. But if you don't have a passion for it, if it's not something that you really want to do to get up and build your business, you might be more focused on the financial or the admin or operations or clinical side. If you don't have that, it really behooves you to find somebody who does, an expert, a surgeon, right? Somebody who's a specialist at doing that part of the job, because the investment that you make in them would probably be equal to or less than the investment you would make or that of taking your own time to do something that you're probably not going to do very well. You're probably not ever going to want to do. And you're going to lose opportunity, just the opportunity cost of being out there and not being successful at it.
Yes. And even if you do have the passion, you also have to look at the time. So when you're starting a business, and sometimes you have to do dual roles. I did. It's very, very hard. But you have to look at the time. How much effort could you really put into it? I got really wrapped up in the operations, and I came from where I was working full time. So I really didn't have time to put into the marketing and the sales, but I was able to handle the operations on the side. But it got to a point where I had to beg my husband, let me quit my full-time job, because I needed to give that full-time effort to that marketing and to that sales if I was going to take my business to the next level. And so time is also a factor as well.
And
Okay.
and just the one last thing I wanted to add there is what I see when I work with entrepreneurs that say, hey, I'm going to do the sales. I'm committed, even though it's not my thing, is that as soon as something else comes up, right, there's an operation or an admin issue, or there's something, they abandon the thing that's easiest to abandon, which is sales. And so you find this shuttling back and forth. I'll do it. Oh, no, I'll pay more attention to my business. And then when all of this is fixed and set, then I'll go back to sales. But of course, with a growing business, all of this part is never all fixed and set. It's always in a process of development. So that's my soapbox speech.
And you have to start back over, is what people don't realize. If you're just getting started and people are just getting to know you, it takes 8 to 12 times before a person sees you, before they even remember you. So if you start and stop, they're not going to remember you. And once you do all that to establish it and you go away, your competitor is knocking on their door that same week. So it has to be a constant. It's not
same day sometimes.
Same day. Right after you leave at the same time.
Kiana and Michael, to your point, always say, just hire someone smarter than you. That's what I do. That's how I made it.
Yeah, I agree with that. So do you think, whether it's the owner or once you get to that point where you're like, okay, I want to hire somebody, do you think one person, I'm interested to hear your answers. Do you think one person can do sales and marketing? What's your opinion of that?
Are you asking?
I'm asking you now, Michael, since you spoke.
Do I think one person can do sales and marketing? Yes, but I also think one person could bake a cake and eat it. I think one person could build a house and care. Yes, they could, but I think that the skill sets that make a person ideal at both are not an automatic transition. And that's probably the biggest challenge with the misunderstanding between what sales and marketing is. Oh, we've got a salesperson, let them handle the marketing. No, these companies, these firms exist because people are experts at marketing and understanding how to capture the attention. So in rare situations, you can have somebody do both, but if you've got a powerful salesperson who should not be in the office or should not be doing those kind of things, why would I ever want to take that revenue generation away from my company by focusing on something that they're not as good at? When I have the availability to hire or retain somebody like the folks on our panel that are absolute experts at that. So the answer is yes, but tread very carefully if you do.
All right. Sammy, your idea?
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely do, both, but again, it goes back to how far can it take you. A lot of times I would say is if you have the revenue to bring somebody on, then do, study it. But as a small business owner, education is important as well. If you're going to go hire an expert or bring an expert on, then do understand a little bit of it. a lot of times clients will come to me and say, well, you're the expert. You 10x this revenue that we're going to give you. That's not how it works. Then a lot of times education is the key. You have to be educated on which route you need to go, what your end goal is, what you actually want to do. Sure, building a personal brand is important, but at the same time, so is selling. There's only a point where you can focus on marketing your brand and selling, and now there's nobody doing the actual work for what you're selling to the clients. So they're both in one, they're one and two, but the goals on sales and the goals on marketing are different, and we need to see it as such from the beginning. Marketing's kind of setting you up for that future success, where sales is going to get you going right now, and as soon as you can.
Yeah, definitely has to be a balance of both. Laura?
As Sandra Yancey, CEO of eWomen Network, once said, do only the things in your business that only you can do. So, your time as the business owner is limited. So, if you are a startup and you really have to, yeah, you can do marketing and sales, and maybe you have to get it off the ground. But ultimately, your time is going to be better spent running the business. And, running the business means doing the things that you are good at. So like Kiana, if you're a home health business owner, then maybe you're really good at dealing with patients, or maybe you're really good at, medical things, or, maybe it's not sales and marketing that you're really good at. So maybe outsourcing or hiring a sales or marketing person, or, that might be a good decision. I think that there are a lot of, especially I do marketing automation. There's a lot of automation that can help you as a business owner to run your own marketing without having to, hire a marketing person. So, there's ways to automate social media posts. Of course, you're going to have to spend some time on the front end putting the posts together. There's ways to automate your email marketing. Of course, it's got to be set up. So, are you going to set it up, or are you going to hire somebody to set it up? So there's a lot of questions I think that you can answer. But I think the question is always to think about your time. You can't, there's no way to get back time. Time is a finite resource. So is your time better spent, sitting here trying to make backlinks for your SEO? Or should you outsource that if you want to run SEO?
That's a great example, because in many cases, it's a science to it. And when you get really core into marketing, you've got science, you've got psychology, behaviors of people. The average person does not understand that. So it's only so much you can do before you really need an expert. That's why when you compare it to large corporations, they have whole marketing departments. That's all they do. It's like the science of marketing and the behavior and psychology of what people do and why they do it, down to the smell or something, the look of something, the sound, the feel, all of that. The layman person is not going to understand that. But the good thing is, as small business owners, we do have resources like you all, where we can go to, where that's your specialty. And for a fraction of the cost, we can't afford to have a whole marketing department. We're small business, but we can have a marketing consultant that can help us with that.
Yeah.
I would say to that as well is the skill set. Of course, the skill set is different, but we have to be careful as owners as what's fun. Because truly for some, it's fun trying to break algorithms or figure something out. And I'll speak to the business owner who's a doctor trying to run a clinic, and he's a hospitalist, and he's like, but I'm just going to figure this out myself because it's fun. And I'm like, well, I'm so glad that it's fun, but at the end of the day, it's not making you money. So you have to make sure that some people just have certain behaviors of, this is relaxing to me or fun. And so you can find some things to do for fun, but you have to make sure that we're getting a skilled person, and that you're utilizing your time correctly as the owner.
Yeah, definitely. So any examples, and I'll start with you, Michael, of marketing or sales activity that you can do for your clients? So current,
just
so
clarify.
I'm going to say current clients.
Mhm.
So anything from a sales or marketing perspective, and then also to generate new leads, just in general.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. So I would say that the new leads really should be spearheaded as much as possible by the marketing department. Because to go out and try to one at a time generate leads, you can do it as a salesperson. It's called cold calling and prospecting, and it's been done since the beginning of sales time. But we're in an environment now where you cannot walk into a lot of doors, and we're in an environment that's going in the wrong direction for that. So it becomes really, really challenging. Kiana, when we did some work last week with your team, we talked about people's attention span. Microsoft's their 2018 study that looked at the average US adult's attention span, and it was 8 seconds long. And so in 8 seconds, if you're going to try to walk in a door, get the gatekeeper or get a decision maker to listen to you, to give you some time to present your offerings, that 8 seconds was over before I even finished this sentence. So from a lead generation standpoint, I really want to lean on the marketing department. From the sales side, what we can do in this process is when we have an opportunity, we can go after it expeditiously and not wait. I see too much in the entrepreneurial community of I'll get to that, I'll get to that, because of the fact that it's not fun. And so it's not as much fun for me to do. When there's an opportunity, we should go now. When people have an interest, we should be able to connect the pieces that meet that interest. And so the sales department holds a great responsibility to make sure that everything that marketing has done does not go to waste simply due to apathy. And so that would be my answer to your question.
Awesome. Laura?
So like I said, I specialize in marketing automation. So, one of the things that I've seen work very well for small businesses is setting up a lead capture on their website, especially active lead capture, maybe a pop-up on the website. The pop-up comes up, offers something of value that would be, valuable enough for somebody to give their first name and email. And then that person will, when they submit that, basically contact information requesting the free resource, it comes to their email. And then you as the business owner can continue to market to that person through email. You could even set up a form, once they've submitted requesting that free resource, you can then ask them a couple of questions, hey, what's the name of your business? How long have you been in business? What's your biggest challenge in regards to whatever it is? Do you need help with this, or this? And would you like to set up a consultation? So, you can actually set your website up to be a lead generation marketing tool and produce leads for you so that you only have to get on the phone with people when the person says, hey, you know what, let's get on the phone. And so that can save you time in cold calling and, just pounding on doors, because you're only having to get on the phone now with people who have self-qualified.
Yeah. And Sammy?
Yeah, so the automations have made things a lot easier. In today's world, we especially saw a proof of it in 2020 with COVID, where you couldn't necessarily go door-to-door knocking. You couldn't actually get the stakeholder on the phone if you were cold calling, because they're actually not working out of the office. They're working from home or remote sites. So with automation, you can really generate that, open cast net of leads that actually come in, and then you funnel them through, through different systems. You either warm them up, get them prepped, so when you do get on a call, the person's ready to listen to you. You're not actually spending time trying to explain to those warm new leads on who you are, what you bring to the table. They actually know that from the reviews that they kind of read online, the study they have done on your business. So from that perspective, digital has definitely made things a lot easier, and then automation has made them simpler. for what you need to do. Where as in you exchanging those emails, the automated chain of emails that can be set up keeps you from having to get involved in every single little task of trying to close that client.
Yeah, and just want to reiterate it because both of you, a couple of you mentioned just the whole COVID situation. I know when I started sales, because my background is sales. When I started sales, it was hardcore cold calling. I'm walking into a building, getting taken out by security and asked to leave, and you're just showing up and hoping something happens. And of course, it's evolved a lot. There's so many tools at your disposal now, but when COVID happened, you know, in our industry, many people were like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? But we just keep going. You just have to be innovative and using these tools. There's so tons of tools that we can use. We're on one right now called Zoom. So just speaking about that, doing sales and marketing in a COVID world, what would you say are some of the tools you guys like, whether it's because of COVID or not? What are some tools that you guys like and recommend?
I'll jump in on that. I mean, to get started, obviously for Salesforce, and this day and age, if you're not using some sort of CRM, you're really running from well behind. And I say that as I'm just finishing up a project with a client in Texas, not your agency, Kiana, and a pretty sizable home healthcare company that is still sending out, I don't have something nearby, but still sending out 3-ring binders of reports that they want their people to fill out each day.
Oh,
And then, yeah, and then, and it's so ancient. It's not even 20 years ago when I started in the industry, it's before that. So having a system where you can capture, track information and activity, and proactively plan what you're going to do next is really just vital to an effective sales force. And we have the tools. Like I'm sitting here at my desk and here's an iPhone and I've got my computer running and then I've got another screen and there's another computer over there. I mean, there's so much availability to capture, track, watch, utilize this information if you don't keep it in a silo. But if you do, if you keep it on somebody's device and it's not backed up or it's not shared, if you keep it on somebody's computer or on a piece of paper in somebody's car, no one else can use it. So that would be my number one tip. I will tell you that, you know, I've been involved in some CRM development. About 80% of CRM implementations fail kind of across all industries. And they don't fail because the CRM's not any good. They fail because the implementation wasn't planned well. And so you might revert right back to the marketing folks and say, it is a marketing job to be able to sell the sales team and the support team on utilizing this tool. And there's some pain that goes along with getting started. But when people see the value of it, when they see actually how it works and how it empowers them to succeed, most good salespeople will buy in. So,
okay. And we've got a few minutes left. So we're going to let Laura and Sammy, I think Sammy was going to say something, but just keep your comments short.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Sammy.
I would go with live video, especially when you can't be face to face with people. I think live video builds a lot of credibility. It lets people feel like they're there with you. It lets people feel like they know you. And you can get on live video, whether it's Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn, and you can, you know, share your best stuff with them. Help them through whatever, you know, if you normally help them with a certain problem, help them with that problem, help them with the kinds of problems that you see them have when they come in person or whatever it is. And just give them a little taste of who you are and what you do and a little bit of FaceTime. And I think that goes a long way.
Okay, Sammy.
And I was just going to say in a short remark, you know, I would take a step back before jumping on tools, because we know some small businesses that get stuck in a loop of using new tools. Figure out what your process is and what you really need to do before, and what you expect to get out of that tool before you jump on it. I'll see clients go from Salesforce to SalesFlare, and they'll keep jumping around for live videos. They'll go from OBS one day to Be Live, then they'll jump onto StreamYard and keep switching constantly because they actually don't have a clear goal on what they expect to get out of that tool. So really have that goal and process in place. Majority of the tools to Michael's point, do the same thing, but they fail at implementation level 99% of the time because people don't know what they're actually wanting to get out of that tool.
It kind of reminds me of a diet. Like most diets work, but it's like you got to put the work and have a plan and accountability. But yeah, I think that's so important. You've got to have a plan. There's so many tools out there, and you can spend a lot of money throwing money all over the place. But if you really don't have a plan of action and know what you want to get, you're just essentially wasting your money. That small business owner, especially if you're just starting off, that's definitely a no. You don't want to get caught up in that. We're going to ask our last question, and it's just about results. So we're talking about the need to put all of these things in place. Obviously, it's a step-by-step. It depends on what your budget is, how big you are. But when can we see results? When I'm hiring a marketing consultant, I'm hiring a sales rep, I'm doing the sales myself. When can I actually see results from all of this effort and investment? Laura, can I start with you?
Yeah, I mean, we usually recommend people, if you're implementing a digital solution like, ads or SEO or, whatever it might be, we usually recommend give it at least 2 to 3 months because, it takes a little while to optimize. So, in the first month, maybe we're going to be setting things up, especially with ads. You don't know how ads are going to perform until you put it in front of real humans. So you can think all day long that exactly what is going to get results, but sometimes you'll be surprised that one thing gets results more than something else when you would have maybe thought it would be the opposite way. So it does take a little while to get things set up, get things optimized, and really get things producing results. So don't think of your marketing effort in terms of like, oh, I'll just like do a month here and there and just see how it goes. But you really want to make a commitment to putting a program in place and sticking with it.
Okay, Michael.
Yeah, it depends on the industry when it comes to sales, certainly, and whatever the sales cycle is. But with what we do in the healthcare space, my process is very front loaded to really establish the relationship via working together. So I'm looking in that first 6-week time frame to start to generate some results and then establish the foundation for longer ongoing relationships where we can grow those. It doesn't mean we've totally failed if we haven't reached those in 6 weeks, but that would be the danger zone where I'd start to wonder why if we were out actually doing the work.
And Simi, thank you.
Yeah, so just taking an example of PPC versus SEO, PPC, you obviously with the ads, putting them in front of the humans takes a little bit of time of experimenting. So you're talking 2 to 3 months where you're actually getting it right, tweaked, and analyzed to get that out. But then for SEO, you might have to look at how competitive that industry is. If I'm trying to outdo Jim Adler on truck accidents, it might take me 9 to 12, 18 months to even get close to ranking anywhere close to that keyword. Now on PPC, the word truck accidents is close to $200 a click. In some areas, again, it depends on what city you're in. Baytown versus Houston is going to be a huge different cost effect and competitive effect, which I'm sure Laura does this as well. We do as well, where we do provide that feedback to the client upfront, letting them know that it's not realistically going to happen in a month or 2 months or 3 months, depending on the competition of that industry. It could actually be longer than a year, and that expectation's there for those clients to kind of see.
Yeah, and that's why it's important to have a good marketing and sales plan, because it's just like a budget. You want to budget your time and how long it's going to take, and you want to make sure that you're continuing to do those sales and planning proactively, especially when it comes to that marketing, because the marketing is going to take a lot longer than the sales portion. Okay, great. We're going to wrap it up there because we are at our time. We want to thank our panelists. Again, all of their information is in the chat. It's either in the chat or Facebook Live. And I know if you want to contact them, their information is there. I know, Jennifer, you had a question. Okay, good. And they're putting some answers in there. Looks like people are connecting, so great. And so we want to encourage you guys to come out next month. Next month, we're going to talk about the topic of health and wellness. And that's very important for the business, but also very important for the business owner, because if you're not healthy, if you're not in a good frame of mind, you can't lead an organization, you can't lead your company. So we're going to focus on that. And the month after that, I think we're going to have a discussion on financial health. So we definitely want to encourage you guys to come back. We are here the third Friday of every month at 10 a.m. Thank you.
Thank you, panelists. What a great job.
Great job.
Great job, guys. Have a great day.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you.